Discover how a heartwarming sign language gesture changed this billionaire's life forever. Jack Reynolds stood atop his sleek skyscraper in Chicago, staring down at the electric chaos of the city below. Cars streamed like rushing water through concrete canyons, and the hum of ambition filled the air. At 45, he was a self-made billionaire, surrounded by luxury that sparkled as bright as the sun reflecting off the glass fronts of his empire. Yet, despite the financial triumphs, a cold emptiness gnawed at him, a gaping void where true happiness should reside. His eyes lingered on a billboard advertising a new luxury condo, yet another concrete testament to success. But all he could think of was Lily, his daughter, who felt like nothing more than a trophy in his relentless chase for wealth. Their lives had become parallel lines, closer than ever, yet drifting further into silence with each passing day. Jack's childhood flared in his memory like a burst of fireworks. Growing up in a modest neighborhood, he'd known laughter echoing through community dinners, the warmth of friendly faces coming together to share stories and support each other. He remembered standing at the door of the small home his parents made for him, lending an ear to neighbors struggling to make ends meet. Those moments had shaped him, sowing a sense of resilience and family deep within his heart. But wealth blurred his vision, overshadowing the compassion that once defined him. As he paced his office, a familiar ache twisted in his chest, a weak reminder of all he'd sacrificed on the altar of success. At a local charity event one night, everything changed. The ambience was bright and festive, yet all he could concentrate on was the bustling crowd. Then, he spotted her. Emma, a spirited young woman, stood at the entrance, her beaming smile illuminating the room. She communicated with ease through sign language, her graceful movements a dance of inclusivity and advocacy. When she signed a heartfelt thank you as Jack walked by, her sincerity penetrated the armor around his heart, sending a ripple of warmth through his soul. In that fleeting moment, everything shifted. A smile crept across his face, and tears pricked his eyes. How had he forgotten the simplicity of kindness? Before Jack could delve further into this newfound awareness, calamity struck. A crisis hit the very community he'd left behind, a neighborhood that had once cradled him. Faced with a choice, he wrestled with his priorities: retreat into his glitzy towers or return to his roots and lend a helping hand. His initial attempt at anonymity, a simple donation to assist those in need, backfired spectacularly and sparked public outrage. Shame washed over him in waves, confrontations with his own prejudices clawed at his insides. In the midst of turmoil, Lily's laughter echoed like a distant melody, urging him to change. Jack began to grasp that true happiness didn't stem from wealth, but rather from love, connection, and community bonds. With a surge of emotion, he picked up the phone, overwhelmed by the desire to reach out to his daughter, mending the relationship that had frayed through neglect. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack's new perspective fueled his desire to establish a community center, a beacon of hope for the families he'd ignored for too long. Emma would play a pivotal role, embracing her teaching of sign language and advocating for acceptance. Yet, as he embarked on this journey, one question loomed: would he be able to reconcile with Lily? Or had the damage been done, leaving their bond shattered beyond repair? Jack stood at a crossroads, ready to confront the profound challenge ahead, ready to rediscover the heart of the community that once shaped him. Where would his heart lead him next? Jack's determination crackled in the air as he stepped out of the high-rise, his mind swirling with plans for the community center. Each footstep felt lighter than the last, fueled by a deep yearning to make things right. He had already reached out to Emma, and her enthusiasm was infectious. Together, they could forge a path toward healing. He just needed to bridge that chasm with Lily first. His phone buzzed, breaking through his resolve. It was a text from Lily: "Can we talk?" It was a small message, but it sent a shockwave through Jack's heart. He hadn't expected this. Was she ready to confront the distance that had grown between them? Taking a quick breath, he typed back, "Of course." "When?" The reply was immediate, "How about tomorrow at the cafe?" Jack's stomach twisted with nerves. The cafe they had chosen was their old haunt, a place filled with memories of laughter, light, and shared dreams. He could almost hear Lily's voice, bubbly and bright, as he entered, recounting stories over steaming mugs of coffee. But now, that warmth felt far away, replaced by an aching uncertainty. As the sun dipped behind the skyline the next day, painting the sky in soft pinks and oranges, Jack arrived first. He watched the door as customers drifted in and out, each moment stretching in front of him like an eternity. When Lily finally entered, her gaze seemed to flicker around the room before landing on him. A moment of recognition mingled with hesitation flickered across her face. Jack felt his heart race. Was he ready for this? "Dad," she said quietly, taking a seat across from him. "Lily." His voice cracked slightly. They stared at each other, the air thick with unsaid words and unprocessed feelings. Jack began to speak, but the weight of everything he wanted to say felt too heavy to lift. A silence settled between them, louder than any conversation. "Why did you disappear?" she finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack's emotions surged. "I thought I was doing the right thing," he admitted, gripping his coffee cup tightly. "I thought success would make everything better for us." Lily looked away, a pained expression crossing her face. "But it didn't, did it? You were so busy chasing success that you forgot what really mattered us." Her words stung. They were true, and there was no denying it. Jack felt the overwhelming urge to defend himself but knew there was no justification for the years lost. "I'm trying to change that," he replied, finally meeting her eyes. "I want to be a better father. I want to support our community, and I hope it's not too late for us." A flicker of hope sparked in Lily's expression, though doubt lingered. "And what makes you think I'll believe you this time?" Jack took a deep breath. "Because I'm no longer that man who only cares about the numbers in his bank account. I want to help others, and I hope to show you that through my actions, not just my words." The glimmer of connection seemed to put a spotlight on their shared past, revealing cracks but also possibilities for healing. Just then, Emma burst into the cafe, her energy electrifying the atmosphere. "Jack, I have an idea for our community center." Jack felt a rush of warmth envelop both him and Lily as Emma's enthusiasm drew a smile to their faces, momentarily escaping the weight of their conversation. "Lily, this is Emma. She's going to help me with the center," Jack said, introducing them. As the two women exchanged greetings, he realized that this could be a turning point, a chance to bring Lily closer not only to him but also to the heart of the community he had been neglecting. What if, together, they could heal not just their relationship, but also the town that had cradled his youth? But as the warmth of that thought enveloped him, Jack felt another wave of anxiety crash in. Would Lily join him on this journey? In that moment, he knew the stakes were higher than ever. The future depended on not just his willingness to change, but Lily's readiness to believe in him once again. And the journey was just beginning. What would be revealed as they ventured into their shared commitment to the community? Would love be stronger than the past? Jack felt a swell of hope rising within him. Emma's energy had a way of infusing the whole room with possibility. As they settled into a discussion about the community center, he watched Lily's expression soften, her earlier apprehension cracking ever so slightly. It was as though a tiny bridge was forming between them, one delicate step at a time. "I think we should start with a kids program," Emma suggested animatedly, her eyes sparkling. "The center can provide a safe space for children after school. It'll give them outlets to express themselves, art, sports, maybe even sign language classes." Jack's mind raced. Sign language? He had never thought about that before. But the idea struck a chord. Providing a platform for everyone, including those who felt unheard, fit perfectly with what he wanted to achieve. Lily perked up at the mention of sign language. "You know, Dad, I always wanted to learn. I think it's beautiful." Her voice held a fascination that made Jack's chest tighten with unexpected joy. "That's a fantastic idea," he replied, excitement spilling out. "We could hire an instructor and start a class for kids and parents alike." Emma nodded vigorously. "We could even host community events around it. Imagine a night where families can come together, and everyone can learn the basics. It'd build connections." As they spoke, the weight of their past felt lighter, time slipping away like grains of sand. They were no longer caught in cycles of ghosts and regrets. For the first time in ages, Jack felt like they were on the verge of building something meaningful, a new kind of bridge. But then uncertainty crept in again. Would Lily want to be involved in this? "What do you think, Lily?" Jack asked, holding his breath. She looked from Jack to Emma, a smile slowly spreading. "I'd love to get involved if it's okay with you, Dad." "Yes. Absolutely," Jack replied, the relief flooding through him. This was a giant leap forward, a sign that perhaps they could still reconnect. As they brainstormed ideas and envisioned the center, the conversation flowed more freely, laughter punctuating the moments of shared dreams. Jack noticed how Lily's warmth was returning. It was as if they were slowly rediscovering each other, peeling away the years of distance like the layers of paint on an old wall. Yet, just as he began to let hope take root again, something deep within him tightened. The fear of failure loomed large. What if he couldn't follow through on any of it? What if, once again, he let her down? "Jack." Emma's voice broke into his thoughts. "Are you okay?" He blinked, refocusing. "Yeah, just thinking." "I know it's intense, but we can do this together," she said, placing a reassuring hand on his arm. "This can change lives. Not just the kids in the community, but yours and Lily's too." Jack swallowed hard, the enormity of it all shifting in the air. Would he be brave enough to face the challenges ahead? What if everything started to unravel again? "I need to believe that," he said, the gravity of his words pulling them all back into the moment. "This can't be just talk for me." "Then let's make it concrete," Lily said softly, her eyes locking onto his. "Let us plan it. Together." As they began mapping out their ideas, each new suggestion illuminated potential paths for their future, the promise of healing hanging heavy yet sweet in the air. But as the evening wore on, Jack couldn't resolve the nagging tension in his chest. What would happen when the talk turned into action? Next steps had always terrified him before, and he knew this journey would demand more than just intentions. Would they succeed in bridging their past with a new future? Or was this just another fleeting moment in a haze of broken dreams? In that thick air, Jack felt like they were standing on the edge of something life-changing. Something that made him wonder, could a simple sign language class really change everything for them? Jack leaned back in his chair, the energy buzzing around him. The warmth of Lily's excitement intertwined with Emma's infectious enthusiasm, creating an atmosphere that felt almost electric. It was a spark he hadn't felt in so long, but it was accompanied by a flutter of fear. What if this all fell apart? "Okay, so, what is our first step?" Emma asked, her eyes bright with determination. Lily squeezed Jack's hand. "Can we start planning an event? A big one, with lots of families? We could make posters and everything." Jack chuckled at the sight of her enthusiasm. "Absolutely. Let us call it a family night. We can showcase all the things we want to offer, including sign language." "That's perfect," Emma chimed in. "We can set up activity stations, arts and crafts, sports, and of course, a corner for sign language demonstrations. People will get a taste of what we're building." The more they spoke, the more everything came together in Jack's mind. They were crafting something tangible. Ideas transformed into plans, making the mission real. But a shadow crept into his thoughts again. He felt like a novice pilot flying without a map. Will anyone even show up? His voice wavered slightly, his doubt betraying him. Lily shook her head, the confident smile on her face challenging Jack's fears. "Of course, Dad. We're going to tell people, invite them personally. Everyone wants to feel included." Jack nodded slowly, but fear still simmered beneath the surface. And what if they don't like it? What if it doesn't work? Emma's hand found his again. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we're trying. We're making an effort to bring everyone together to create connections. That's already a win. Her reassuring words sparked courage within him. This was more than an idea, it was a chance to reclaim his place, to be part of something real and meaningful for his daughter. All right, what do we need to do next? Jack asked, determinedly shaking off the uncertainty. As the week unfolded, they hit the ground running. They scrambled to create flyers, even joined forces with local businesses for supplies. Lily jumped into action, reaching out to friends and spreading the word at school. At every corner of their endeavor, Jack felt waves of happiness wash over him, like the sigh of relief when spring arrives after a long winter. Yet, deep down, the fear of failure clung to him like a stubborn shadow. With each day, Jack was astonished to see how people reacted. Every supportive message from neighbors lit up his heart. More than that, the overwhelming positivity trickled into their own lives, knitting them closer together. On the day of the family night, they transformed the community center. Colorful balloons floated above. Tables overflowing with art supplies beckoned. Laughter bounced off the walls as they set up the last of the stations. Jack leaned against the wall, taking a deep breath. They had done it. This was real. But the nagging uncertainty nagged at him still. Just as he was beginning to embrace hope, the fear began to tighten its grip. As the doors swung open and families poured in, it took a moment for Jack to fully comprehend what was happening. Smiles, laughter, and hugs filled the room. This is incredible. Lily exclaimed, her eyes shining. Jack's heart raced as the reality of the moment hit him. But just when he thought they had captured something precious, doubt wormed back in. Would it hold? Could this sense of connection they were creating remain beyond just today? Watching the families engage, he felt something shift deep inside him. Maybe these little moments and gestures meant more after all. Perhaps, just perhaps, this night could blossom into something lasting. As the noise of joyful chatter filled the air, Jack scanned the crowd, and suddenly his stomach tightened at the familiar figure standing just outside the entrance. Would this be the moment that changed everything? Or was it just another chapter of complicated emotions? Jack's heart pounded louder as he tried to sneak a peek at the frail figure lingering in the entrance. A surge of recognition flooded him. It was Chris, an old friend turned silent enemy. Memories of their friendship cracked and splintered through his mind like glass. First, the laughter and camaraderie, then the bitter fallout that left wounds still raw. Dad? Lily tugged at his sleeve, breaking his reverie. Are you okay? Jack forced a smile, his heart still racing. Yeah, honey. Just, a lot happening tonight. He wanted to step forward, but the weight of the past anchored him. Emma had noticed too, her brow furrowed in concern. You know him? She whispered, glancing at Chris, who seemed hesitant to take another step inside. Just Jack started, but words escaped him. He shook his head, dispelling the thought. Whatever they'd been through didn't matter today. This night was about new beginnings, not old ghosts. With a deep breath, he turned his focus back to the joyful chaos surrounding him. Families settled in, children's laughter rang out, and the vibrant decorations swayed with every beat of excitement. Each smile illuminated the room, wrapping his heart in warmth. Yet Chris's presence loomed in the background, too big to ignore. Every now and then, Jack's gaze flicked back toward him. What was he doing here? Why now, of all nights? Just as Jack was about to throw caution to the wind and walk over to Chris, a group of children approached wearing big grins. They clamored for his attention, their faces lighting up as they pointed to the arts and crafts table. Mr. Jack. Can we make masks? One child exclaimed, bouncing on the balls of her feet. Of course, Jack replied, forcing his own excitement to shine through, let's make the coolest masks ever. As he guided the children, he felt the joy of the moment wash over him, temporarily silencing the voice of doubt. Each laughter felt like a stitch in the fabric of this community they were piecing together. He glanced at Lily, her small hands covered in glitter, a smile stretching from ear to ear. "We should have a whole wall dedicated to recycled art," she suggested to Emma, who eagerly nodded. "Great idea." Emma cheered. "Let's hang them up for everyone to see." Every moment a little brighter, he felt his spirit lift. The previous quarrels seemed like shadows fading in the bright light. Perhaps he could really do this, build something that reached beyond his fears, something that allowed kids like Lily to thrive. But once again, his attention drifted back toward Chris. The man's posture was rigid, his eyes darting over every happy interaction, and it struck Jack, was he a spectator or a participant? Then, without warning, Chris stepped into the bustling space, eyes locking onto Jack's. A wave of tension surged between them. The air was thick with unspoken words, histories that begged to be acknowledged. Just then, the unexpected happened. A small child dashed toward Chris, arms open wide. "Come play with us," he shouted, innocence radiating from his tiny frame. Chris froze, eyes widening in surprise. Jack held his breath, wondering if this gesture of purity would pierce the wall of distance between old friends. "Come on, Chris," Jack whispered, almost to himself. "This is your chance." Would Chris step forward and break through the division? Or would he retreat, leaving another opportunity lost in the echo of the past? The moment hung in the air like the first notes of a song waiting to be sung, and just as it was about to hit the crescendo, Jack found himself standing on the precipice, heart racing, unsure of how this story would unfold. What if the night shifted not just for them, but for Chris too? Chris stood motionless, caught between two worlds, one of joy and laughter swirling around him, and another filled with the weight of memories that no longer fit. Jack could feel the anticipation hanging in the air, a collective breath held as the children, oblivious to the tension, bounced excitedly around Chris. "Come play," the child repeated, his voice filled with earnest sincerity. Jack wanted to will Chris forward, to see him relinquish the weight of the past that seemed to hold him firmly in place. After all, they had once shared moments just as pure, moments where innocence bloomed and nothing else mattered. Slowly, Chris knelt down, the movement deliberate, like a statue thawing in the warmth of spring. He met the child's gaze, a flicker of recognition sparking briefly in his eyes, an old instinct, perhaps? The tension in Jack's shoulders began to ease as he watched Chris surrender to the child's infectious energy. "A mask?" Chris asked, his voice hoarse but soft. The little one nodded eagerly, pulling on Chris's sleeve. To Jack's surprise, a faint smile broke through the rigid lines of Chris's face. "Let us make the best mask together," he exclaimed, standing tall now, as if unwrapping a gift of forgotten joy right there among the glitter and glue. Jack's heart swelled, a rush of relief flooding his veins. He exchanged an incredulous glance with Emma, whose eyes shimmered with hope. This moment was far more than he dared to dream tonight. The group of children quickly clustered around Chris, each one scrambling to share their materials and ideas. Jack watched how Chris began to engage, moving from a figure of uncertainty to a source of laughter and encouragement. There was a transformation unfolding. With every delighted squeal from the kids, something within Chris cracked open, and new life began to emerge from old wounds. "Is it okay to use feathers?" one child asked, bouncing on their heels. "Only if I get to pick the colors," Chris replied, laughter dancing in his voice. It was a sound Jack had longed to hear, a reminder of the friend who existed before the fallout. Cautiously, Jack took a step forward, heart pounding once more. "You always were the best at choosing colors," he said, hoping to thread their past back into the moment they now shared. Chris's eyes flicked to meet Jack's, and for the first time, they mirrored not anger or resentment, but understanding, a bridge starting to form across their shared history. "Does that mean you've forgiven me?" Chris asked, words laced with uncertainty but an equal measure of hope. The air between them quivered, awaiting an answer. The joyful chaos continued around them, and Jack could hardly believe how fast everything seemed to be shifting. I don't want to dwell on the past, Chris. I want us to move forward. Maybe tonight is our start." The encouragement in his voice felt foreign yet exhilarating. Chris nodded, the burdens they both carried hovering in the air but somehow lighter in fact. Perhaps it was the innocence of the children, the buoyancy of laughter intertwined with Jack's longing for reconciliation that turned doubt into hope. A mask made of feathers and glitter seemed a fitting metaphor for new beginnings. Just then, Lily darted over, mask held high, pride lighting up her small face. "Look, Dad. Isn't it amazing? It's perfect." Jack beamed back, then turned to Chris. "You should see it too." As the evening unfolded, Jack realized they could be at the cusp of something genuinely transformative if only they took the plunge. Would they venture into the depths of their shared past, digging up old hurts, or could they weave a new story together, one that allowed both men to evolve into adults who embraced forgiveness? His breath caught. That moment of truth was reaching them, but was either ready to take the leap? What would they uncover at the heart of their friendship, or what might they break open if they tried to understand each other again? Chris felt a spark of something alive flicker in his heart. The laughter of the children, the vibrant colors of their creations, the soft glow of the evening sun, it was all washing over him, a warm tide erasing remnants of doubt and despair. He plunged into the children's laughter, zestfully choosing feathers and colors, sliding into their joyful chaos. "Let us make it bright," he urged, the words pouring out like soda fizz. Jack watched, awestruck, as the transformation in Chris unfolded. In that moment of pure, unfiltered happiness, it was like time rewound to their childhood days when colors had no weight and laughter had no quiet. Chris leaned into the exuberance, wrapping his hands around clumsy little fingers as they stuck and pasted, exchanging playful jabs, building something together. Lily swung by, her face beaming. "Look, Daddy. It's the best friend mask." Jack's heart tugged. That little mask represented more than just innocence. It bridged the gap between two men, once so bonded, now adrift in misunderstandings and anger. "Yeah. We can wear them together," Chris said, prompting a ripple of excited cheers from the kids. But a shadow still lingered over him. Was this delight genuine, or just a veil to hide old pains? Jack took a deep breath, stepping closer. "You're great with them, Chris. I think they help remind you of the real you." His words hung in the air, a timid offering of acknowledgement, the past still lurking like a ghost. Chris paused, his joyful demeanor momentarily faltering as he looked Jack square in the eyes. "Do they? Or do they remind me of what I lost?" The question was raw, peeling layers off the tension, setting the stage between them. A child piped up, "What do you mean, what you lost?" That innocence wove through Jack's heart. It was a reminder that life was often wrapped in the simplicity of childlike curiosity, untainted by resentment. "Nothing, buddy. Just grown-up stuff," Chris replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Jack felt the weight of Chris's hurt. Maybe it's time to talk about some of that grown-up stuff? Chris straightened, taking a step back, vulnerability flashing across his face. "And what would you know about it? You've had your own choices to make." Pain surged through Jack like a thunderclap. Their history wasn't just shared joy, it was painted with failures, anger, and the wreckage of their mistakes. Yet here they were, perhaps on the edge of something different. "Maybe I have, but tonight feels different." "Tonight, it feels like we're closer to finding a way through," Jack replied, the sincerity running deep. Chris pulled in a shaky breath, the mask material scattered around them seeming to enhance the poignant moment. Would they dare peel back the layers of their past? Or would the history they built become another mask obscuring their truth? The children were oblivious, gleefully distracted by their own magic. But Jack sensed a crack forming in Chris's defenses. What if we had a fresh start? Make it real, like these masks? No pretending. Chris blinked, grappling with the suggestions. And what if we screw it up again? Then we try to make it right. Just like we're building these masks. Layer by layer. Jack gestured to the vibrant colors melting together on the table. Could it really be that simple? Chris asked, his voice a mix of caution and yearning. Well, nothing worth having ever really is. Jack smiled softly, encouraging. Just then, Lily waved her mask in the air. Look, I named mine Super Friend. Jack chuckled, and the atmosphere brightened with the innocence of a child's imagination, wrapping around Chris like a blanket of warmth. He might just be ready to take the plunge. They both could be. As silence fell around them, Jack wondered if they could emerge from the past together not as the friends they used to be, but as something stronger, something renewed. And as Chris's gaze fell back to the glitter and glue, a sliver of hope kindled in Jack's chest. Was this the moment where they would reshape their friendship? Or would their unspoken wounds keep them apart in silence? The potential for change danced in the air, leaving Jack with an urgent question: were they truly ready to break the cycle or risk falling into the same patterns again? Chris felt the weight of Jack's words stir deep within him. He was caught in a tide of emotion, a mix of fear and hope swirling together like the colors on their crafting table. The laughter of the children felt distant, almost muted, as his mind raced through their history, the missteps, the arguments, the distance that had grown wider than a chasm. Lily bounced over, her mask still held high, radiating her unfiltered joy. Look how fun it is, Daddy. We can be anything. Her excitement pulled Chris back into the present. He couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm, but that smile faltered when he met Jack's gaze. There's something real, something raw. Do you really think we can be anything? Chris questioned, his voice quieter, almost pleading. Can we really start over? I don't know if I even know how. Jack took a step closer, his sincerity palpable. It's scary, Chris. But carrying this weight, this guilt, it's dragged us both down. We have to let it go. Together. You're not alone in this. The children around them continued to create, their laughter ringing like bells, distant yet somehow grounding. Chris glanced down at the remnants of their project, mismatched feathers, paper scraps, remnants of glue. It was chaotic but beautiful. Just like them. I'm afraid, Chris admitted, his voice trembling. Afraid of failing again. Afraid of hurting you again. Jack's eyes softened. And I'm afraid too. But what if we're missing out on something amazing by holding on to what's gone? We could find a new way to be friends. The night air felt thick with possibilities. Chris wiped his brow, feeling the heat rise in his chest. Could they do this? Was it possible to tear down the fortress they had both spent years building around their hearts? What if I'm not enough? Chris asked, the vulnerability defining his voice. Jack shook his head, his resolve firm. You're more than enough, Chris. Just by being honest. Let us stop trying to be perfect. We've already messed up so much. All we really need is the truth, remember? A flicker of understanding crossed Chris's face. He recalled the times he and Jack had forged their tightest bonds not in perfection, but in shared struggles, laughter, and sometimes even pain. Lily's voice drew him back into the moment. Come on, you guys. Help me make the coolest mask ever. The invitation hung in the air, a gentle beckoning from the innocent heart of a child. Chris nodded, silently accepting the challenge, wanting to embrace this moment with both Jack and Lily. As they gathered craft supplies together, their hands brushing, conversations began to flow a little more freely. Maybe we could try making a monster mask, huh? Like the ones we used to make, Chris suggested, feeling a weight lessen just a bit. Jack's eyes lit up. Or superheroes. This can be our starting fresh mask, a mashup. Just like us. Laughter spilled from the children as the ideas bounced around the table, a spark igniting in the air between the three of them. Chris slowly felt the walls inside him begin to crack. Yet, doubt still lingered, whispering uncertainty in the back of his mind. Would this really lead to anything lasting? As the kids' giggles floated through the air, Chris fought back the urge to pull away. He couldn't help but think about what happened next. Every layer painted in warmth and color was a choice towards love or towards fear. Chris took a deep breath, willing to find out where this road would lead. The sun began to dip lower, casting a golden glow over them, and the shadows of the past swayed just out of reach. Maybe it was time for a leap of faith, a jump into the unknown while holding on to the people that mattered most. As the evening progressed and the masks took shape, Chris's heart pounded with uncertainty. Would this moment be the push toward healing, or would it slip away like sand through his fingers? And in that pregnant pause, as glue dried and laughter echoed, Chris glanced at Jack, the question burning in his chest. Could they really both find the courage to embrace this new beginning before the darkness swept it all away again? As the vibrant colors of the sunset painted the sky, Chris felt buoyed by the laughter of Lily and Jack. They immersed themselves in their project, each layer of glue and paper bringing them closer together. The weight that had settled on Chris's chest started to feel lighter. Hope flickered within him like the sun's final rays. The joy Lily radiated wrapped around them like a warm embrace. Look! This side is for heroes, and this side is for monsters. Lily exclaimed, shoving two colorful masks decorated with wild designs into their faces. The innocence in her voice made Chris chuckle, yet a pang of nostalgia washed over him. He thought of the last time he and Jack had genuinely laughed like this, without any walls or burden between them. Why did we stop making these? Chris asked, feeling a sudden wave of sadness mixed with a touch of longing. Jack glanced at him, his brow furrowed slightly. Life just got complicated. Yeah, complicated, Chris echoed, but was it worth it? Jack sighed, a tinge of regret creeping into his demeanor. We let ourselves drift. We got wrapped up in everything but us. The words hung between them, thick with shared history. Chris felt that familiar ache, the recognition of how easy it had been to let the little things push them apart. Maybe this mask making was more than just an art project, perhaps it was a chance to reshape their bond. Let us not do that again, Jack said, his voice low, almost a whisper. Let us fight for it this time. Chris nodded, a sudden surge of courage coursing through him. Agreed. Let us make a promise. No more drifting. Deal, Jack replied, a smile breaking across his face, the tension easing between them. They clasped hands over the table, a simple act that seemed monumental in the heat of the moment. Lily clapped excitedly, realizing her father and Jack were sharing a private pact. Yay! You guys are like superheroes already. As they returned to their work, a new energy filled the air. They started collaborating on their masks with an enthusiasm reminiscent of their younger selves. Chris concentrated, letting the laughter of the children pull him from thoughts of the past. A scratch here, a layer there, and they were crafting something that wasn't just beautiful, it was a symbol. But amidst this playful chaos, doubt nagged at Chris. Jack's presence was a bomb, yet could it last? Just as Chris was about to voice his fear, Lily broke through the moment, holding both masks high. Look! We made the bestest masks. Can we wear them for real? Of course, Chris replied, masking his uncertainty with a smile. They donned their creations, and Chris marveled at how inside the masks, they transformed. He felt the pieces of his heart stitching together, vulnerability wrapped in the laughter of a child. Jack's eyes sparkled from behind the embellishments, and Chris could see the glimmer of something profound, their hope, possibility. A loud commotion erupted from further down the park, pulling their attention. Curious, they walked toward a group sitting around a fire pit. Chris recognized a few faces, familiar friends drawn together, sharing stories, letting their lives intertwine again. Let us join them. Lily exclaimed, dragging Chris toward the light. They barely stepped forward when a loud cheer erupted from the group. Look who it is. Chris. Jack. As they approached, Chris's heart raced. There was something about being around friends, warmth washing over him. But deep within, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was a crossroads, a potential turning point that could tilt them back toward normalcy or deepen their division. Amidst cheers and warm hugs, he made eye contact with Jack. Suddenly, the uncertainty was glaring again. Would he really embrace this new beginning, or were they destined to stumble yet again? Just as he was ready to pull Jack aside for a moment of clarity, laughter rang out, and a familiar face, one from their past, stepped forward. Chris froze, heart stopping in his chest. "What are you doing here?" he whispered. There it was, the moment that could change everything, but was he ready for it? Jack felt a wave of warmth as laughter echoed around him, children racing past with their colorful creations in hand. But then, as he stared into the crowd, everything shifted in an instant. The unmistakable figure of Chris emerged, a ghost from his past manifesting right before his eyes. "What are you doing here?" Chris whispered, a hint of accusation lacing his words. Jack forced himself to breathe, recognizing the tension that hung heavy in the air like a storm ready to break. But there was no escaping this moment. It was here, demanding their attention. Chris had his past chained to him, memories tainted by anger and loss. Yet, standing in that vibrant space filled with laughter and art, Jack felt an undeniable urge to break free from the shackles that had bound them. "Why don't we find out together?" Jack replied, attempting to infuse warmth into his voice. He stepped forward, feeling the eyes of many families and friends drift toward them. In the corner of his eye, he noticed Lily, her hands still on the vibrant mask decorated with their shared joy. She was the spark they all were. Chris's sharp gaze softened slightly as he hesitated, taking in the scene unfolding around them. Jack felt a glimmer of hope surge in his chest. This place, this night, it's more than just an event. It's a chance to start fresh. With everybody here, including you. Chris shifted, uncertainty dancing across his face. "Are you sure we can fix this?" More than ever, Jack affirmed, stepping closer, ensuring his voice was steady. "We're here, in this moment, and it's ours to define." Lily appeared at their side, her innocent smile igniting the tension simmering between the two men. "You both can be superheroes again. Just like our masks." Chris let out a small chuckle, the corners of his mouth twitching upward. There was acceptance in his eyes, a hint that tonight could be different. But as brave as his heart felt, the sharp edges of past pain lingered just beneath the surface. Could they really build a new friendship on the ruins of their old one? "Let us join the crowd," Jack suggested gently. "We have a lot to share, and we can start with our masks." Every word felt like a step forward. Chris glanced at their creations, shimmering under the soft lights, and nodded. For the first time in years, Chris put his hand out, the previous hurt hanging by the thinnest of threads. Jack gripped Chris's shoulder, both men walking side by side, a metaphorical cape draped over their shoulders as they approached the gathering. Chris felt the warmth of reconciliation radiate through him, igniting courage where there had been doubt. As they reached the cluster of friends, the ambience was electric. Laughter and stories blended harmoniously, and the glow of community wrapped around them like a cherished blanket. "Hey, Chris. We've missed you," one friend called out, opening arms wide. Chris felt the embrace wrap around him, a wave of acceptance washing over his guard. "Is that a superhero mask I see?" another shouted, grinning at Jack and Lily. In that moment, a breath of fresh air filled Chris's lungs, pushing away the stale bitterness of his past. "Yeah. The best one we could make." He felt a sense of purpose bloom within him, no longer just a spectator but an active part of his past and future. "Way to go." Someone cheered. As they merged into the laughter and camaraderie, Jack and Lily by his side, Chris finally allowed himself to feel free. Remembrances of pain faded softly while hope blossomed anew. With each shared moment, every laugh and connection rekindled, Chris realized that the masked boyhood of their scars had given way to endless possibilities. Perhaps tonight was a crossroads, not the end of something but the birth of a new chapter. Jack nodded at Chris as if sensing the transformation sweeping through them both. They were stepping boldly together into that new beginning, turning their struggles into shared strength. As the sun dipped completely below the horizon, the stars peeked through, filling the sky with a symphony of light. Chris felt lighter than he had in years, as if the burdens had finally been laid down. Laughter and joy swirled through the air, and all it took was a mask, a moment, and the willingness to reconnect. Through the warmth and the laughter surrounding them, Chris grasped that they were carving out a fresh path, one where understanding replaced misunderstanding and where the vibrant colors of their friendship once lost were reclaiming their rightful place in the tapestry of their lives. And as he joined in on the laughter, he felt an undeniable sense of belonging, a profound realization that sometimes, to move forward is to take a step back to where it all began, and then choose to turn everything around. Now, the question echoed in the stillness, hanging sweetly in the air. What wonders awaited them as they forged ahead, hand in hand, no longer burdened by the past, but instead, embracing the vibrant light of a bright new future? This was just the beginning, and the journey was finally theirs to embrace. And to everyone watching, this journey of transformation, hope, and new beginnings is just as important as the story you just experienced. You need to subscribe now to see more heartwarming stories that can change lives. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to help spread these uplifting messages far and wide. I want to hear from you, so comment your thoughts and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible transformation. Together, we can spread hope.